This is Joy News today with me, Francisca Kakra-Forson. The Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the opposition New Patriotic Party says he will not succumb to any sanction by the party. This follows comments by Communications Director Nana Komia suggesting that he may be sanctioned for saying he will not acknowledge Freddie Blay as acting chairman.
There has to be space created for each and every one of us. It is very important that we assure minority of Ghanaians, be they religious minorities, tribal minorities, that when we come, we will not say because we think we have the numbers, we are going to undermine the constitution and say that since people don't talk about this, it's efficacious, that we don't protect their rights. This is about 50% of Ghana. It is a dangerous thing. If you let it stand, somebody overthrows John Mahama one day, and then these 60% whose conscience or minds have been ingrained with the fact that an efficacious, revolutionary coup over a period of time is okay, we then go out there and slowly, they will say it's okay because it's efficacious.
He alleged that people are being gagged in the party, but maintained he will not be quiet.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. When you have this efficacious lawyer, efficacious argument on polling station, constituency, you have Joy FM, you have very expensive station. So every minute of your airtime is money. So can you imagine if you calculate all this? These resources now I'm using, instead of using this to let people understand Mahama, instead of focusing on him, they are getting all of us to focus our resources on our own. And then other people who can even go and express themselves in very creative ways to win the election for us are also being cowed not to speak and shut up and then veiled threats of suspension. Hey, you they burn you for chocolate.
So you're not going to go down without a fight, essentially?
Master, I was elected by a certain body. I raised my hand to the square. And I swore to protect the constitution of the New Patriotic Party.
Mr. Crab, however, said he will not attend today's NEC meeting if it's not properly constituted. He explained why.
If it is properly convened by the person I believe is the chairman of the party, Mr. Barafoko, I shall attend. If somebody calls you, then it's a group of friends who want to call themselves and sit somewhere and make certain deliberations. So that is what I'm saying. But I'm saying that I shall go to any meeting which is convened properly. But if it is not convened properly, no, I shall not go.
So let's go live to the NPP headquarters where the NEC meeting is supposed to take place and speak to Kwabna Chenchen Heneboateng, who's there for us. Kwabna, what can you report?
Well, the National Council meeting is yet to commence, but upon reaching here, I could see quite a number of party officials, both party executives and party officials are currently here just waiting for that council meeting, that all-important council meeting that many say is going to determine the fate of Chairman Paul Afoko is yet to start. Now, since coming, I've seen quite a number of people in there. I can say that the General Secretary of the party in the person of Kwabna Chenchen is currently here, even though I'm yet to set sights on him, but I have seen his car and I'm told that he is already in the building. Also, quite a number of other people are here, including the Deputy General Secretary, that's Mr. Bribuahin, former Minister for Interior, Kwamina Battels, quite a number of the party executives as well are also here, just waiting for that particular meeting, which is yet to commence, I must say.
Said therefore the NEC meeting by the NPP. We're staying with politics. General Secretary of the People's National Convention, PNC, is predicting the takeover of the running of governance by drug cartels, money launderers and other anti-democratic forces if the issue of public funding of political parties is not taken seriously in Ghana. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of a two-day workshop organized by the National Peace Council to collate views of political parties, civil society groups and individuals on how to ensure a peaceful election next year, Bernard Mona observed that public funding of political parties will not only reinvigorate the quest of political parties to sustain the country's democratic process, but also prevent anti-democratic forces from hijacking democracy. Eastern Regional Correspondent Kofi Siao has more.
For public funding of political parties led the issues raised at a forum to collate views on how to hold successful elections in Ghana by the National Peace Council. Almost all the political parties' representatives, apart from the New Patriotic Party, who were absent, endorsed the proposal for public support for political party activities. They were mostly of the view that state funding will go a long way to help produce capable leaders who could effectively tackle the development challenges of the country. The PNC's General Secretary, Bernard Mona, who however blamed the two leading political parties, the NDC and the NPP, for not showing much interest in the implementation of the idea, did not rule out the influx of anti-democratic forces if the issue is not seriously looked at.
So we in the PNC support strongly the public funding of political parties, and I do believe strongly that it is the way to go. Any other thing will breed corruption. Any other thing will lead to money laundering. It will lead to drug cartels taking over the running of political administration in this country, because the political parties, no matter what, ought to be financed. Who finances them should be a question for all of us to answer.
Do you think that is the situation we find ourselves in?
I will not be surprised, because the quality of our parliament is suspect. Go to our parliament and look at the caliber of personnel that we have in our parliament. Who says that some of them are not financed by drug barons? Who say that some of them are not financed by money laundering activities? Who say that some of them are not financed by criminal gangs? And I'm saying that in order that our democracy is not hijacked, it is important for us as a collective to look at these issues.
Meanwhile, PNC General Secretary Bernard Mona has been explaining what he meant by the caliber of parliamentarians' comment. He says the 1993 to 1997 parliament was the best, and the subsequent ones have done the country little good.
I have said that the 1992 to 1996 parliament, if you want, you can say 93 to the 97 parliament, have been the best parliament that I have seen in this country. The quality of debate cannot be doubted. The issues that were brought forth cannot be doubted. The opposition was up to the task, evolving alternative policy measures. At any point in time that government brought a budget, you saw an alternative budget that was put in place. Anytime there was a state of nation address, you saw a qualitative state of the nation address, the opposite. Unfortunately, after the 97 parliament, it does appear that anybody can go to parliament, and the quality of debate has diminished, and I am certainly worried. I'm sure that for those of you who have been avid watchers of our democracy, you will concur with me that 1993, 1997 parliament were one of the best. After that, our parliament has been nothing but just represented.
The PNC has opened nominations ahead of its delegate congress. I have with me in the studio Emmanuel Wilson, who is contesting for the General Secretary slot. Thank you very much for joining us. So, why are you joining this campaign? What are you bringing on board?
Well, let me first thank you for hosting me. As you are aware, 27th to 29th, we are having our Delegates Congress in WA. And what it means is that we are going to contest for the various positions. Now, you all agree with me that the General Secretary's position is one of the very key positions in the party. In other words, the General Secretary is the face of the party. And so if anything will go right or anything will go wrong in the party, it depends largely on the General Secretary, because he's the door to which you enter the party. I'm contesting for the position not because I really want to contest, but I am contesting largely because delegates across the country have called on me to contest for the position.
Everybody says that.
I am telling you, it is so because 1,001, not just delegate, but members of the party.
Let's talk about the man whose job you want, Bernard Mona. He's been there for quite a long time.
That's right.
Why would they choose you and not maintain him? Why?
Well, he has decided to contest for the chairmanship position. And we know that every period and the kind of leader you need for
Can he fill his shoes?
Now, I'm not just going to fill his shoes. What I'm going to do is to move the party from where it is to where it's supposed to be, and that's what delegates expect me to do. If delegates just want me to fill the current General Secretary's shoes, then what it means is that where the party is exactly where the delegates want me to take the party to. But I'm not just going to fill his shoes, I'm going to add an additional shoe to it because we want to move the party from where it is to where it's supposed to be. Now, you see, there are one or two things that has been affecting our party for the few period. And number one has to do with the fact that as a party, we've not been able to create our own identity. The average person you see on the ground, you communicate with him or her and tells you that, well, your party seems to be an appendix of another political party.
So the lack of an identity is an issue for your party. Your ratings or your success in the elections are nothing to write home about. Does the PNC have a future then?
It clearly means that the fact that the PNC is still in existence tells you that there's hope for the PNC. Now, if you recall from '92, when we started this democratic dispensation, the Fourth Republic, the political parties that started in '92, till now, there are only 3 of them that are in existence: the NDC, the NPP, and the PNC. If PNC could not go into relegation, like the other parties that started in '92, and PNC is still in existence, what it simply means is that PNC has come to stay. All that PNC needs to do is to get leaders that will move the party from where it is to where it's supposed to be. And that leader is the Emmanuel Wilson.
Okay.
In addition to the other leaders that Congress will be electing.
Okay, we wish you all the best.
Thank you very
much. That's Emmanuel Wilson, and he wants to be the General Secretary of the PNC. You're watching Joy News on Multi TV with me, Francisca Kakwa. We'll take a quick break. More stories coming up. Hello again, you're watching Joy News today. Police and National Security have started investigations into armed robbery incident that led to the death of 30-year-old marketing officer of Vodafone Ghana, Ebo Panford Kwenu. The incident has created fear and panic among residents who say they want police patrol in the area. Latif Idrisu has more.
I'm currently at the residence of Ebo Panford Kwenu, the 30-year-old Vodafone worker who was gunned down by armed robbers yesterday. Now, as you can see, the gate is underlocked, so we cannot get in there to the crime scene to bring you the report, as it were. But what we can tell you is that the situation has put some fear and panic among the residents who live in this area. Now, what they are calling for is for the police to beef up security in this area to ensure their safety. The police used to patrol the neighborhood in the past, but now the situation has changed. They've stopped patrolling the area. I suspect the armed robbers they had a tip-off from an insider. We got information that he was riding in a BMW, which he recently sold online. So we suspect his business partners traced him to his house to kill him.
Gate adibi bubum say ye bu gate ani nti me de manim say ye kronfo.
I heard the gunshots and the wife subsequently came to ring our doorbell. So we declined to open because we thought she was part of the armed robbers. We need the police to come and patrol this area. We are currently living in fear.
The Vice President is expected at the Wesley Girls Senior High School in Cape Coast in the Central Region today, following the rejection of about 200 prospective students who were posted there by the Computerized School Selection and Placement System CSSPS. Richard Kodonyako joins us on the telephone. Richard, good afternoon to you. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, good afternoon. The Vice President is in the Central Region, precisely Cape Coast, where he's been addressing the Conference of District Directors and Municipal and Metropolitan Directors of Education. He's been talking about the street naming. He's been talking about their roles, what they have to do to ensure that development actually takes place in the districts and the municipalities they are coming from. And so he just finished addressing that conference. And right now, as I speak with you, we are at Wesley Girls Senior High School, where he's going to meet some of the authorities of the school. And so that is what we are here. But I have been gleaning some information from the school. I'm told that, well, the admission list has not changed since we last reported on. Those who were not admitted have not still been admitted. Now the Vice President and Central are in a closed-door meeting with the school authorities, and we are waiting patiently for the outcome of that meeting that is taking place.
Richard Kojonyako from Cape Coast in the Central Region, thank you very much. Now, residents living around the Wager Dam are calling on the Gas South Assembly to demolish structures built along waterway. Now, the communities which are currently at risk due to the ongoing spillage of the Wager Dam say the indiscriminate building of structures along waterways obstruct the free flow of excess water from the dam. They want the Assembly to demolish these structures as well as desilt the choked lagoon and drains. The spilling of the Wager Dam started at midday on Wednesday is yet to have an effect on surrounding communities. The level as at Thursday morning was at 47.8 feet according to the company. They will continue the spillage at 6 inches until the dam reaches the 47 feet safe operating level. Now the company however says there's no cause for alarm as the spilling is likely not to cause any flooding. Meanwhile, the Greater Accra Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Daniel Mensah, says the situation is under control and residents have not been affected.
But we've been doing that for the past 1 week. Go around the communities with information banks and told the people about what was likely to happen.
Okay, so now I need to find out from you. Have you been monitoring the situation at the downstream at all, and what reports are you getting?
Yeah, we've been monitoring. So, and yes, I think that the people are not under any threat.
You're watching Joy News today. Right now, we'll take a break. We'll bring you business in a bit. Welcome back. Stop borrowing to pay debts. That's the admonition from the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE. Well, Finance Minister Setekpe will tomorrow present the budget for 2016. Ahead of that, ISE is worried about the government's recurrent expenditure. ISE says it is not sustainable with regards to the gap in revenues. Now, Ghana's public debts have been described as ballooning and worrisome. Ahead of the budget presentation tomorrow, many are looking forward to government's planned spending, especially since 2016 is an election year. Professor Nkoma Asante is director of ISE.
Government payment for 2014 declined as a share of GDP from 37% of GDP in 2013 to 32.2% in 2014. And here this is attributed to the fact that expenditure on district assemblies and petroleum subsidy fell compared to the previous years. And here I'm not sure because the district, the resources sent to the district assembly is a percentage of the country's GDP. Okay, so if we are not able to raise enough, by all means, the amount of resources going to the district will also go down. And then the petroleum subsidies also fell compared to the previous year because now government is trying to remove itself from subsidy issues. However, government expenditure has been dominated by increasing recurrent expenditure, and in 2014 the share of recurrent spending to the total was 71.5%. So what is happening is that if you take in simple terms, in a particular month, what we're able to raise as a country, about 71.5% goes into running the economy. And here, running the economy is mainly salaries. Okay, I mean, if 71.5% is going to recurrent spending, what is going to capital expenditure? Very, very small. And capital expenditure continues to suffer from this type of spending, raising concerns about adverse effects to improving the productivity of the economy. Now let's look at the monetary and financial development. The central bank's main objectives were single-digit inflation and maintaining exchange rate stability and strengthening the supervisory role
The 2016 budget is topical. Well, ahead of the presentation tomorrow, George Rafe has been finding out some more.
Engaging a lot of business owners ahead of the budget presentation, one major thing that has come up is the call on government to take a second look at the current tax system for enterprises in the country. According to them, they are paying too much taxes, especially at a time that the business environment is not that conducive to make enough profits. This concern is summed up by the chief executive of the Private Enterprise Federation, Nanose Bonsu.
Help me to make money, we will pay more. We even went to the situation where the telecoms had even positioned themselves that if there's a need, they wouldn't mind even an additional VAT to be put on them, so at least government can get some money in return for certain services and certain things that they need to do. These are things that we got to come to the table and see how the private sector assist government to generate the revenue whilst making sure that the private sector maintains its balance and also create the jobs and become profitable.
Therefore, some business owners are of the view that reviewing the taxes to lessen the burden on them, then they could describe the 2016 budget that will be presented this Friday as business-friendly. But for some analysts, looking at the current challenges facing government in terms of raising the required funds to meet its financial obligation, especially in an election year, maybe it might be difficult to grant this request. Or government might look at the option of expanding the tax net so they can bring in more people to pay the taxes, so they can lessen the burden on those who are currently paying the taxes. Again, some of them are looking at a well-targeted expenditure by government that is spending in areas that will stimulate growth. However, with calls from the IMF and donor partners for government to cut its expenditure as part of efforts to control the budget deficit, maybe businesses might have their wish not granted in the 2016 budget.
Meanwhile, renowned economist Dr. Joabe is warning of tougher times in the coming year. Dr. Joabe has been speaking with my colleague George Rafe on why he thinks next year's budget might be an austere one.
If they are saying to you, if you take a realistic view of what is happening, we are going back to Washington and we're going to write our report and our management will pronounce it. Meanwhile, we have left you. We have left you with the best we can do, that look, you have got some big challenges. If you leave it to us, you must purge yourselves. You must go for austerity in an election year, in spite of the fact that our election years have typically ended up with large budget deficits. So they are saying to you, there's no room for you to spend above your means and hope you can go and borrow. You've reached the limit. So they've left you there, and they are saying to you, you're going to have to cut your coat, not even to the cloth you've got, but for less than the cloth you think you're having, because they are telling you that even the deficit in the program is too big to be financed. So you are entering an election year with all the tendencies of competition for promises. You are entering the election and they are telling you the reality is that you must really, that is this ominous statement about, after discussions with them, we have come out with, and we are all going to have to wait and hear what is before we begin to anticipate and be blamed for being because it's all there.
But Doc, some will say that the reality is that going into an election year, having an austere budget, some will say there's a fact in the reality. It's impossible, Doc, that as a nation going into an election year with all the pressures from the Labour Front, with all the pressures from the Electoral Commission to meet their budget for an election that we all wanted to be free and fair, it's not possible for us to have that austere budget.
No, that is not possible. The thing is, you have a different type of austerity which you may not understand, but
Away from the budget, the chairman of the Presidential Commission, which established the three-tier pension scheme, T.A. Bediakon, is impressing on government the need to ensure maximum job security and the longer tenure for the chief executive of the Pensions Regulatory Authority. This, according to him, has become critical for effective implementation of the pensions reforms.
The reform started as far back as July 2004 with the establishment of the Commission. They have, however, seen controversies which many believe have also unduly delayed the implementation. The chairman of the Presidential Commission, T.A. Bediako, blames the situation on the lack of a substantive CEO for the sector's regulatory institution so far.
No, it's unfortunate that after the law had been passed and we started operating, we started getting more and more confusion in terms of not accepting the details and so on. But now that the issues have been settled, I hope they will try to do it. But it's unfortunate, and of course there has not been stability in the management of the scheme. Within 5 years, we have had 5 chief executives. I mean, you can't have a scheme of that nature and get every year one chief executive and so on. Now that there's understanding, there's cooperation, we do hope we will not have this kind of delay again.
In other words, you think that the current chief executive should be made to...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the current... But whoever becomes a current chief executive, I think we should make sure that he stays longer.
He adds.
And that's it for business on Joy News today. Sports comes up in a bit.
Well, good afternoon. You're still here on News Today. Let's talk some sports now. And the Black Stars have arrived in Moroni ahead of their game against Comoros in the 2018 First Leg World Cup qualifier that will be played tomorrow. Now, the team had their last training session in yesterday afternoon at the Accra Sports Stadium, with Coach Avram Grant having a full house with the arrival of German-based Felo Fuswaye and Harris Nafo, who plays his club football in the USA. Now, what has been the major talking point going into this game has been about whether the team's winning bonuses should be slashed or not. Coach Avram Grant has shared his thoughts on this, and according to him, authorities responsible for ensuring the players are motivated financially must fix the problem.
The word is not the right word, but one of the things that they brought me here is to make a new standards after what's happened in the World Cup. So all I want that the preparation will be like any normal country, and I don't think it's happened now. It's again remind me what the World Cup. Remember that in Africa Cup everything was the organization. I cannot say that it was 100%, but the players could be focused on the football, which any normal country. So I didn't come here to say this is his fault, this is his fault. I know that the national sport in Ghana is to point a finger and say this is his fault. I want to find a solution. My way is to find a solution and not to say who is to blame anybody. So I hope they will find a solution, because one of the things that everybody knows around the world now, with all the pressure that there is on the players, you need to give them quiet. And let's face about the facts. The facts that this team, since I arrived to the team, you cannot complain about one player that didn't give 100 and more than 100%. The result is good, the atmosphere is good, the players improving themselves and improving the country. Everybody proud in this country about these players. We want to continue with this result and with this attitude. One of the things that we need to be professional off the pitch, and I hope they will find a solution for this.
Okay.
No?
Now, President of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, has stated that any member on the executive committee qualifies to be his vice. Now, the amendment of the statutes of the GFA has given the president the prerogative to name his emergency committee members, including the vice president of the association. Some names have come up for the top job, but Nyantakyi insists he will take a very good decision, despite admitting that all the members on the executive committee fit to be his second in command.
In terms of selecting the vice president and the emergency committee, that will be done at the meeting of the executive committee. A lot of factors will be taken into consideration, but I can tell you that any of the 21 members is capable of being a vice president or being on the emergency committee, because they all have the qualities to lead the federation.
That was Ghana FA President Kwesi Nyantakyi. Now, Accra Hearts of Oak have defended their poor state of the pitch the playing body has been training on for the last 2 weeks. The Phobians, who turned 104 yesterday, have been heavily criticized following the standards by making the playing body trained on a grassless, crusty pitch at the police depot here at Tesano. Now, the administrative manager of the club, Hackman Adi, tells Joy Sports the players are not complaining.
They are so comfortable, they are okay with it. You know how the folks started at the Lotteries Park, which is similar to this, and even that one, it's more, if you touch the pitch itself, the surface, it's very hard. This one, very soft. And I'm not saying that because of that it's good for us, but looking at the situation, the circumstance in which we are, at least I think we have to cope with it for some time. So the players, technical team, everybody understand the situation. You know, we have Pobima, we have a training ground there. Unfortunately, before the start of preparation for this coming season, we visited the place and realized that we need to do renovation, and we want to do a total renovation. So we've given it to a contractor to work on it, and he told us that we have to vacate the place for some time.
To end sports, my name is Benedict Owusu. Enjoy the rest of the program after this break.
The head of research program and deputy director of CDD Ghana, Dr. Franklin Odro, has alerted the police administration to identify loopholes and hotspots before the 2016 elections. He cautioned political parties to take a cue from events that led to the death of the New Patriotic Party's Upper East chairman, Adams Mahama. He expressed concerns that perpetrators of such election-related violence in the past, quote, have gone unpunished and in many instances are condoned. Dr. Franklin Odro was commenting on the retired IGP and the acting IGP.
I want to assume that it has been fair. You'll notice that there were about 5 or 6 people all in the deputy commissioner positions, and any of them had the equal chance of being appointed. But of course, only one person can be appointed. And if you look at Kudalo's position, he's been director of operations before. He's been in charge of election security. And he sort of moved around all the departments. And therefore, I wouldn't say that he's better than all of them, but I think he's one of the best. And any of the deputies could have been appointed, but it can only be one person. And so I would assume that the process and what went into the thinking of the president, informed by the advice that he may have received on police council, informed he appointing Kudalo in the acting position.
Greater Accra Regional Police is parading some suspected robbers, and we are joined on the telephone by ASP Efiat Tenge. She's with the Greater Accra Police Public Relations Department. Good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us. Can you give us some more details? How many criminals are being paraded?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, and this afternoon, the police have made some headway in terms of crime combatants. And this afternoon, a number of car snatching syndicates and also some armed robbery suspects who have been or who used to terrorize residents within Texas, Mungwa, and its environs have been arrested. And as we usually do, we usually bring them for the public to know what they have been able to do, and also for some of these criminals to be identified for further prosecution. So these criminals, the car snatching syndicate, yes, these people, they followed a vehicle from Accra using a taxi cab, and unfortunately this taxi cab also had happened to be a cab that they had snatched from someone. Then they abandoned that vehicle, then snatched another one from another victim around Princess Road, and then they drove it to Accra. So it was when the police got wind of it that we gave them a hot chase. And even in the process, they even abandoned the second vehicle again. Then they absconded, now joining another cab again. But through intelligence and also through police effectiveness, they were arrested. So this afternoon, a car snatching syndicates and also armed robbery suspects, who even when they were arrested, they even led the police to about 16 houses that they have robbed within Sessiningwa and Nitambayo. Some of their accomplices, as I speak to you, are serving various jails, and 145 and the other 70. And we hope to also continue the investigations and process them at the court for them to gain their various punishments for the crimes that they have committed within the Accra metropolis.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's ASP Efia Tinge giving us details of a parade of suspected criminals by the Accra Region Police. You're watching Joy News today with me, Francisca Kakra-Forson. We'll take a break. Entertainment news will come up. Now to check out what's happening in the world of entertainment, Gladys Oseredu joins me in the studio.
No comment.
What are you wearing? okay, no comment, fine. But I know you're going to talk about Jedubule
Ambule, who is
He's throwing
bitter.
some accusations
Anytime
around.
he doesn't win an election, he gets extra bitter.
Well, so this is because he didn't win the election.
Yeah, well, that is my opinion. I don't know about him, but you know, he's a bit worried. Obwo was throwing out an invite to him and Apietus, who both contested in the elections against Obwo, but lost to him, to come serve on his executive. But Ambile says that he will not have any association with fraudulent people like Obwo and, you know, the kinds. So long as it's an Obwo administration, they are fraudulent. We can take a lesson to a piece put together by myself. Controversial Ambile is alleging once again that the musical elections was not free and fair, and has therefore declared he cannot associate himself with the new administration, which he describes as fraudulent. He was reacting to reports that Obwo has invited him and Apietus to work with him as executive members on his board. Throwing more light on how unfair the elections were, Ambile claims that some workers at Musica who are not members of the delegate were allowed to vote, which is unconstitutional. He says according to the Musica constitution, 10 delegated people must be selected from each region, but Accra chose 30, Kumasi chose 20, and that flouts the Musica constitution, disclosing that he is discussing with his lawyers and will challenge the results. Ambile contested for the just-ended musical elections as a presidential candidate against Obwo and Apietus, but both Ambile and Apietus lost the competition to Vice Oseikofo, who retained his seat as Musica president. Let's talk about some beauty pageants now. This time it's from the face of Abrantier from Abrantier Design College, and guess what? The talent display was something else. I just couldn't want to keep this to myself, so I am sharing. You can also take a watch at how the contestants put up those performances. Franca, you know, the first song I actually dedicated that to our producer Martha, but the last performance is dedicated to you.
I'm dumbfounded, no comments. But thank you very much,
Sure,
Gladys,
see you tomorrow.
for bringing us.
Tomorrow is Friday. Come ready, come prepared.
I know. We've got plans.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it for entertainment. Well, there's more news on My Joy Online, and you can log on to get the latest there. Now, quickly, let me read to you. A female student of the University of Professional Studies in Accra has died after she was stabbed multiple times by her perpetrators. And those are details there. We blur the picture up because it's very, very gruesome. But get the details from myjoyonline.com. That's it for Joy News today with me, Francisca Kakwa-Forson. Thank you very much for your company.